the S&P 500 and the Nasdaq 100. As we jump in here, we zoom into some of the action. You can see that we're doing the same thing over and over, clearly making higher highs and higher lows in that bullish trend. You can continue to see we make these local highs, we mount above, and we push higher and higher and higher. And that's really the way this trend is going right now, moving very, very strong. Now today, you really had no sign of a pullback at all on the S&P 500. It was just straight continuation. You go into Nasdaq, QQQ, again, very similar structure, clear breakout, but really didn't get the continuation and another break of those highs, except what you saw early in the morning. Going into futures, looking at the Nasdaq there, and again, this is where things get more interesting as we look at higher time frames like the 4-hour and the 1 day. Look at your levels here, right? We talked a lot about this, right? Coming into that major level, 20,000, 510, 505 range, you're breaking out, holding above on the daily. This is what you wanted to see. You have a little bit of a level here at 20,600 and 20,700, but there's not much after that point, okay? Now, the other major thing here is the largest sectors here that are really heating up finally, that are really carrying the Nasdaq. Number one, SMH semiconductors breaking above the 256 level we've been talking so much about, right? This has been a very big focal point. We've been saying this is the most important thing out there if you're looking at the Nasdaq breaking out. Again, just since the breakout, just in 1 day, you're sitting up around $5 from that level. The next one, XLK, the tech ETF, breaking out, pushing up with ease, almost back in all-time highs, which is around 238, which is only around $4, give or take, from where we're at this point. So again, continuation seems likely. Again, buyers are stepping in aggressively. Those are the major things right now. Dow's also at highs, but we don't even need to talk about Dow. We don't even need to talk about Dow. The other thing here is IWM. I see a lot of questions regarding IWM. You're clearly making your higher lows here as well. Again, I don't want people to get confused, complicated here, right? Higher low, higher low, higher low. On the daily time frame, you need to break above basically 226 for that continuation there. So that's been our big level, basically going back into July. So what we're looking at locally, across the board, everything in between, very simple to see right now. Now, a few things, right? First of all, if you're not following on Twitter, I recommend doing so. I keep all the charts, everything I'm posting throughout the day, updates there. I want to be really clear about that. Now, I do want to be just totally honest with you guys, right? I want to, I try to be, on the good days, talk about the good, also talk about the bad. Something I post on Twitter here today. I missed some opportunities today, got a lot of what I wanted. Again, a lot of stuff we mentioned here on the channel, just didn't execute when I needed to, didn't lose a trade, but really didn't take anything at all. Jordan posted some trades today in Discord, but for me personally, I just didn't execute. I just didn't get in. That was kind of like didn't want to FOMO in. And sometimes the best thing to do is to not trade, but I want to let people understand too. Sometimes you're going to have a plan. Sometimes you're just not going to execute the plan. Sometimes you just won't get into those entries. So make sure you understand, guys, some days just aren't going to be yours, even when everything happens like you want it to happen. And that's kind of how we're moving right now. But anyways, looking broad at the market right now, you look good for continuation. I want to see a break above 20,700 for that continuation. I also want to highlight right now, Israel just told the U.S. that they're ready to strike. We'll see what happens. They're not going to be the nuclear facilities or the oil. We'll talk about that more later when it happens. I'll keep you guys posted on Twitter. Now, going into this week, we know we don't have too much data on the calendar. There's not a lot really there. Talked a lot about that. You also have your earnings coming in, which again, too, if you don't follow Earning Whisperers, it's free. It's on Twitter. You can check them out. But again, not too many big earnings this week, except TSM and Netflix on Thursday. After that, it's really just like some banks. Next week, earnings ramp up dramatically, so you want to be paying attention then. But again, kind of just still sitting on, take foot off the throttle a little bit here as we go into the end of this week. But you still look strong. You still look good unless something really changes the whole landscape of the market as we're pushing all-time highs here. Now, a step further, DXY continues to be a little bit of a problem here as it tracks to the upside. Step further from that, yields. We talked a lot about this. We want to see yields slow down. They're not slowing down. You're at basically back to your downtrend, the top of that downtrend. The question now is, do you reject? Do you push back down? Bitcoin pushing back up to its downtrend as well. Still looks really strong, trying to break out here. MicroStrategy going berserk. But again, biggest points across the board that we're watching right now. Oil, a little back and forth, again, coming down. Okay, now going into equities, what we're looking at there. I said semiconductors have been the big catalyst, the big mover here. Now, NVIDIA obviously pushing back into those all-time highs. Very impressive, back into 141 almost. That's what you're really looking for here. But when I go across some of these other names, getting a pullback on AMD, right? AVGO kind of pulled back on the day, a little back and forth day, right? All-time highs are sitting at 184, 185, right? 185, actually 186, but that's where you're sitting at there. So didn't really get too much action there, right? Go down LRCX, decent little day there. ASML, Texas Instruments, seeing some of those other names get the love now. One of the names I really like here is ARM. We talked a lot about this above 149. You're looking for that 164 test. You got the test on the day. We've talked a lot about that. Again, that's your big level here. But if you're able to mount 164 in ARM, in my opinion, you're looking for all-time highs that push back into 190, 189. You have a few little levels here, but again, lots of clear skies after that point. Definitely interested there, and I could see a lot of upside breaking out over 164. So again, big opportunities there. We go again to some other names. Google, very impressive. We talked about the head and shoulders kind of playing, inverted head and shoulders, shoulder, head, trying to break above 168. Very impressive, just being patient here as of right now. Microsoft, another impressive name, trying to break out, trying to get above 424. Microsoft holds above 424. You're looking for 430, 432 in a hurry. Again, big opportunities presenting themselves once again here. Apple, you mounted that level we talked about in the previous video. I'm not a huge fan of trading Apple here, but you're mounting clean chart. Came into 227, bounce, pushing back into 232, 231. Impressive. So overall, you're still seeing tech. Again, like we mentioned, XLK, semiconductors, looking really good. Okay. And again, these are the areas of the market that are carrying the Nasdaq. That's what we have to understand. If we show you here, semiconductors, and we go look at Nasdaq, we're just being real here. It's a very similar chart, right? Very, very similar in comparison. Okay. And so that's what you're seeing here is you're finally seeing these sectors that have been cooled off for the past 2-3 months. They're heating back up. And we knew when the volume started kicking in here, that's when Nasdaq would start pushing to all-time highs. And again, I'm going to tell you right now, Nasdaq above 20,700, in my opinion, starts to press into 21K and then ultimately 21.2, which is all-time highs. I'll keep you guys posted as much as possible on Twitter, so make sure you're following. I try to keep you guys as updated as I can, so make sure you're checking that out as well so when I'm making those updates. But again, there's not too much for me to cover today, guys. Again, you look really good. This is kind of what we've been waiting for. Just got to continue to execute these trades where we're at, finding the resistance, finding the supports, getting the mounts that we want to see, and really not overcomplicating this. But I just want to say, for the people that are like, hey, when is the time to go short? When we start making lower lows, right? We stop making lower highs. We stop pressing into all-time highs. The time to go short isn't right now, unfortunately, for you. So again, that's what I'm watching. That's what I'm looking at. If you have questions, comment down below. I would love to, keep you guys posted, continue answering the questions. But for right now, that's really what I'm looking at here. Again, I'm not trying to overcomplicate it, not trying to overstep, not trying to catch the big trade before the trade sets out. And again, I want to highlight on mid caps, IWM. That's your breakout point above 226. That's when you really start to look good here. So again, stop trying to be the first one into the trade. Try to be the one that's making money off the trade, right? Again, and that comes by being patient, waiting for confirmation, and getting continuation that you want to see. I do want to give an update here on Tesla because I did post this today on Twitter, and I even posted it in Discord. Very clear what I'm looking for is the break and retest with confirmation on the downside here. You had like a 1 minute candle below, and then you shot back up. Again, false breakout. Below 214.5 with the hold and a retest, I'm going short down to 203 to 204. Want to make that really clear. I don't see upside on Tesla. I think it's absolute trash right now. Short term, that's my opinion. What I'm looking at there. If you have questions, comment down below. See you guys tomorrow. Have a good one, traders.